Good afternoon. My name's Tom from Ledgemere Farm here in southern Maine, and I'm just going to take a couple minutes and talk to you really quickly about my Mahindra tractor. I actually have owned three. This is the third one I've bought. I still have two, and I'm going to just go over really quickly the features and what led me to buy a Mahindra tractor over a John Deere or a Kubota, because those were really the only other two options available to me. So if this is your first time hanging out with me, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. We're a small family farm here in southern Maine, and we primarily use Mahindra and Farmall tractors. Thanks for watching and stick around. So for those of you who are looking at tractors right now, this right here is a Mahindra 1635, and the 16 series is made in Japan by Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi used to build tractors for International Harvester. They built tractors for Cub Cadet, and they even had their own line of tractors. Some of you may have seen the Mitsubishi Bison or the Satos. Mitsubishi Sato was a company for a while. And so what Mitsubishi has done is they've stopped really building them for themselves, and they build for other tractor manufacturers. So when you look at these tractors, you'll see in several places where it was made in Japan. So this is a 35 gross horsepower tractor. The engine is made by Mahindra, where if you look up here, you'll see right there's my Max 26, and that one's actually made by Mitsubishi. And so I think what I'm told is Mitsubishi owns like 49 or 51% of Mahindra. I can't remember which way it goes, but they are a big player with Mahindra tractors. One of the big selling points to me when I was looking at Mahindra tractors was, what do I get for basic features for the tractor? What's the overall price point? How good of a dealership am I being involved with? And what are the capabilities of the tractor? So to be honest with you, I had a Kubota tractor, and it was a nice Kubota tractor. I actually had two of them. I had an old one and then a newer one, and I needed something a little bit bigger. The local Kubota dealership had gone through a huge buyout, and they were conglomerated into a series of dealerships, and they primarily were focused on pushing construction equipment. I felt like I was bugging them when I went in. So it's not a good feeling when you walk into the dealership and you feel like you're made to feel like you're wasting their time by being there. So I went to the dealer, the John Deere dealer, who's nearby, and same thing. They used to be a small family company. They've been conglomerated, but the old salesmen are still there, the salespeople. So they still treat you really well, and I do like them a lot. In fact, I bought a Gator from them, but I didn't like the John Deere Economy Series tractors. They have an aluminum rear end, and you had to pay extra for the drawbar. And I've got another video about all the reasons why I ended up choosing a Mahindra over some of those. So I won't go into too much detail about why I chose Mahindra over the other two, other than the features, the dealership, and the price. So we ended up getting this tractor over a year ago, and I've been more than happy with it. And so this is a 1635, and it's a shuttle shift transmission. So it's got a clutch right here, and then I've got a shuttle shifter here which goes forward and reverse, and then I've got two ranges. I've got a high and low range transmission, which is right here, and then I've got four. So I've got 8 forward, 4 reverse. When I bought this tractor, this was going to be a farm tractor. I wasn't going to be doing a lot of forward and backwards maneuvering with it, so I really wanted the shuttle shift for field work. The Max behind me, that is a hydrostatic, and that's my little loader tractor that I do all my landscaping. I do my barn clean out. And when you're talking about a tractor that you're going to do primarily loader work with, then a hydrostatic, in my mind, it's the tractor that you want, because you're doing that front and back. And yes, you can do it with a shifter here, but with the hydrostatic, you are pushing a rocker or 2 pedals, and the further you push it down, the faster it goes. And that's not the case with a shuttle shift or a manual transmission tractor. You have to change gears to get a higher gear, and then so you're always trying to find the right gear. And that being said, I do use this for loader work occasionally, but mostly the bucket on this tractor is to pick things up and put them down. I have a snow pusher that goes on the front of this. And so I've got the bale spear, I've got a set of forks, and those are all things that this primarily is doing with a loader. Now, having said that, don't ever buy a small tractor like this without a loader on it, because when it comes time to resale, 99% of the people who are going to be looking at buying a tractor, they're going to want a bucket on their tractor. And so if you've got a machine that's say 10, 15 years old, discontinued, moved on to something else, good luck finding the bucket to go on it. So it automatically just makes the selling point of that, or the resale of that tractor, very low and very difficult. So we'll just start at the back of this tractor and work our way around. And so this tractor, I got ag tires on it because, like I've said before, I'm using it for agricultural purposes, for farming. The Max up there has industrial tires. I prefer industrial tires for a lot of loader work because they don't squat. Agricultural tires on the front, if you don't keep the inflation at the right level and you say you turn your tires too sharp one way or the other, you'll take that tire right off the bead. And so I'm very careful about what loads I carry with the agricultural tires. But having said that, I find the traction that I get with these is unmatched. It's so, while the industrial tires on that are perfect for loader work and for general purpose work, they do not do so great in the snow. They don't do really that great in the field. They're okay. They're better than turf tires. They got a stronger sidewall, etc. But I bought this tractor with R1 tractor tires on it for farming. So, and I've also got these rims on these set out to the farthest points, which you can't really do with a lot of the industrial tires. Some of them will have a separate rim and wheel, but a lot of them don't. They're one piece. The Max up there, the rim and wheel is all one piece. So this one here, you can flip this around, dish in out. You can put this here side to side, and so there's 8 positions, and this is set out as far as it goes. It gives me a really good stance. When you buy a tractor brand new from the dealership, you want to get things like remotes ordered when you buy the tractor, because it's an option that is available at the time as a complete unit. If you buy the tractor and then later on decide you want to put remotes on it, then it becomes a parts issue, so you have to order all the parts separately to make the kit, and then it costs way more money. So even though this is like a $700 item, I do use it for the mower, and you want to buy things like that up front. Lights, you can put those on yourself. Those really aren't that difficult. These are just some regular aux beam lights that I was able to hook up myself. I just tapped it into the regular system for the lights. Not that hard to do. The dealership will charge you a lot of money to add work lights. Same thing with the canopy. I got the canopy, and you can see some tree limbs, branches in there, off Amazon. It wasn't that expensive. It works really great. The factory canopy is going to cost you a lot of money, and the only thing that I don't like about this canopy is I wish it went further forward, because it doesn't really do that great of a job of keeping the sun out of your face, but it's better than nothing. With the 1635, 1640, you get these flex links on here, so you push this in, these slide in and out, makes it much easier to attach your implement. They also come with these stabilizers here, and I have a love-hate relationship with these. I do not abuse my equipment. I do not try to push it to the design limitations, but I've already bent these a couple times. I had to take them apart and pound them back in, and it's only going to do that just so many times before they're absolute junk. And at that point, I'll have to either buy new ones or use some old turnbuckles that I've got hanging on the barn wall. But I mean, I do like them, and because you can just pop this pin out, and then you can move your draft links one way or the other. It's really simple. But the trade-off is that they're not that durable. I'm not super happy with the construction of these. They're very cheap. The drawbar on the John Deere, like I said, you're going to have to pay extra money. Seems like not that big of a deal, but to the tune of $300 and something for a piece of, inch steel or inch and a quarter steel. It's just one of those things like, are you kidding me? You're not going to give me a drawbar with my tractor? So the toolbox that comes on these, really not useful for much of anything. I did have another toolbox that was pretty easy to put on, so I did add that myself. Moving around the tractor, 1635 has 2 cup holders, and to be honest with you, my cell phone goes in one. There is a cell phone holder, but bouncing around. I'm afraid it's going to fall out. So it's pretty deep. I can put my beans thermos in here. And something a little bit weird about the Mahindras is you have to put this yellow knob into gear here to engage your PTO, and then on the other side you have a knob to turn your PTO on and off. That said, if you leave this on, the tractor will not start without it being disengaged. So I'm not sure the real advantage of having a two-part PTO. I did have a 2538 that just had a push button on the dash, and you pushed one and it was on, and then that was it. That was the extent of it. One thing I think is really cool about Mahindra is that when you buy the loader, it comes with a subframe on it. In the old days, you'd buy a utility tractor and it would just be bolted here and on the front maybe, and that was it. And so you'd end up subjecting your whole tractor to being torqued around. Swapping these side to side gives you two different widths for your tractor for increased stability. Right there is the yellow, that's your dipstick to check your oil. Very easy to get to without popping the hood. One thing I don't particularly care for is having the fuel tank here. I do like the fuel tank back there, but having said that, I have a bulk tank, so it's not too difficult to fuel the tractor up. But if you have to stay in here and dump a 5-gallon can of fuel in there, you're subjecting yourself to getting wet and making a mess. I'm very happy with the loader on this tractor. It exceeds all expectations as far as what it'll pick up and what it won't pick up. These right here, these quick touch levers right here, the John Deere and the Kubota did not have those, and so the John Deere has this proprietary bucket, which everything you buy from John Deere has to have that proprietary setup on it, or it doesn't hook on. Kubota does the bolts, and then you can buy this plate that goes on there as an added cost. So Mahindra, it came with it. The bucket level indicator, I really don't care about those. I've never used them in my life, and more often than not they get broken off. So you can kind of see where your bucket's going just by looking off to the side and not have any issues. Coming around to the right side of the tractor, one thing that I think is cool that I didn't mention is they have these little pieces of plexiglass here, and that's really good. It stops the mud and junk from coming up and getting all over you. Also, the back here is enclosed. The Kubota was not enclosed. It was open. So when you were rotary mowing, bush hogging, shredding, whatever you want to call it, it was throwing a lot of debris up here into the cockpit area, and you get a lot of that heat from back there transferred to the front. So I just think that's a nice feature to have. The hood's really easy to open. You can just pull these little balls out like this, and they will allow you to drop this down. The loader comes off reasonably easy. It's got a couple pins. Disconnect the hydraulics. The foot is in here, and it goes there. I have no reason to take the loader off this tractor, nor do I intend to. One of the drawbacks that I find, and you have to be exceptionally careful of, is this mess right here. This is all your hydraulics, and so you want to be very careful about going in the woods, going off-roading, that you don't rip this off. I have heard a couple horror stories where this happened, and I promise you it's not going to be cheap to fix it. Now, I did have an issue with one of these controls here. These are cables, and one of these separated. The dealer fixed it under warranty, and I will not blame Mahindra for this, because I had a John Deere that at one point the couplings were bad, and once I got new couplings on it, I never had a problem again. So most of the time, all these tractors, the parts and pieces come from the same vendor, and if one's bad, they're probably all bad. So let's just keep an eye on this, and if it acts up again, then we'll talk about it. But right now, I think the problem's fixed. And so, I mean, there's a plate here, but you really have all this stuff exposed, and so you need to be exceptionally careful of where you're going with your tractor. Twin brakes, foot throttle, hand throttle, single joystick. This is your PTO, so you can turn it on On the other side, you want to disengage the clutch, pull that lever down, and then this right here, you just turn it back and forth to engage, disengage your PTO on the go. But like I said, if you do not disengage it there, you can't restart the tractor. 3-point hitch control, your auxiliary hydraulic valve. I'm very happy with the seats on these. With the 16 series, you really sit up high. With the 25, 26 series, you're kind of sitting down in here, so very comfortable to sit on. I do like the armrests. If the seat gets wet, it does dry off exceptionally quick. Not an issue. Got the port here to plug in, cell phone charger or whatever. Sitting up on the tractor, I do bump this lever all the time. My knee's right here. And so I'm always finding myself driving with the directional lights on because it's right there. Hazards, horn button. I just tethered my key switch on there so I don't lose it. You've got tilt wheel, brake lock, and the instrumentation on here is pretty good, I think. It shows you your temperature here, your fuel here, and then you got a full array of idiot lights and your tack here. I find the visibility very good on this tractor. I find it very stable. One small note that I will make is I do find that it spins out quicker than the Kubota I used to have. And the Kubota did not have a bucket on it, so it's possible. It's just the weight distribution is different. But both this tractor and the Kubota did have the same size tires front and back, and they're both loaded with about the same degree of weight. So this tractor does get stuck quicker than the Kubota did. Mahindra has what they call Mahindra common rail diesel, so they don't use a diesel particulate filter, meaning that there's no regeneration. The tractor doesn't generate a whole bunch of heat to clear the exhaust to make it Tier 4 compliant. You don't have to put diesel exhaust fluid in it. There's really nothing else you have to do. The tractor just runs clean, and Mahindra spent $30 million building these tractors Tier 4 from the get-go instead of just adding things on top of the motor like John Deere and Kubota did. So that was one of the other things. And the dealership that I deal with, they're stellar. I have always had great luck with them. They've been very prompt to address the issue with the hydraulics that I had. I get most of my service done there. They change the oils and everything. It's just, not that I'm not capable of changing oils. I've been doing it my entire life, but it's just as easy to go drop stuff off. They're only like 10 miles away, and they service it, and then I go pick it up and bring it back. Going forward, that's what I plan on doing, is just having them do all the service on the tractors. It just makes good financial sense to me to do that. So one other thing too is, like, when you buy a machine from the dealership and they do the maintenance on it, they know the maintenance has been done on the tractor. They've got all the records and everything on the work there, so in the event that you do have issues, they're going to go to bat for you in theory because they know that the tractor has been maintained. I've got a separate video on the Max, but I just want to put a shout out for it because I've been talking about it, so I'm going to give you a little bit closer view of it. This is probably my favorite little tractor. It's very nimble, it's very stable. I can fold the ROPS down, I can get underneath the barn, the bank barn, to clean out the cows. I can get in the end of the sheds here to clean out everything. This will pick up a 3x4 round bale, no sweat. It has a good wide stance on it. It's a heavy tractor. 3 points are strong. I just really enjoy this tractor. It took a while to get used to the heel toe rocker pedal. I was used to the John Deere twin touch, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. It's just, well, you know, I really do prefer the twin touch or the two pedals, but this is what it is. So Mitsubishi does not want to go to a twin pedal for whatever reason. So I mentioned I did have three Mahindra tractors. The first one was a 2538, which I felt was built on a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. It just had a slew of hydraulic issues with it, one after the other. I ended up trading it for the Max, and then I bought the 1635, and I feel like that was a good trade. The dealer gave me a really good trade. The dealer was aware of all the issues with that 2538, and I've had great luck, knock on wood, so far with these tractors. So if anybody's out there looking for a new tractor, I highly recommend the Mahindra tractors. I've been very satisfied with them and the dealership that I deal with, which is in Waterboro, Maine. They've been been great. And they've even come out here a couple times with that 2538 I had. They changed out the dash. The whole dash went kaflooey at one point. And I just have nothing but good things to say about them. But anyway, I promised a short video, and so did I do right by buying a Mahindra? I think so. I've had these now for a couple years, and they've withstood the test of time as far as you know, being on the farm here. And so I rake, I ted, I cut hay with them, haul manure, load manure, move hay bales, haul wood, twitch out logs, pretty much everything, rocks. They've really done everything I've asked them to do, and I really don't abuse my machinery. I keep it under cover for the most part. I keep all the maintenance up on it, and I'm just hoping that they'll keep working. But anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.